feel like in the first couple of weeks when you're running, there's like a curve, an energy curve to get over. It's exciting at first, and then there's an energy hump, and then your body just gets used to it. So I feel like I'm trying to get over that hump. Today is day 10. I plan to run just 2 miles today. Take it easy after 5.35 yesterday. Be joined for conversation by my friend Cecilia Gentili. Hi, good morning.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Oh my God, you're already running?
Yeah, I wanted to get started. Need to get it going.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm only doing 2 miles today, so I'm gonna keep it short. I did 5 yesterday, so I'm pretty tuckered out.
That's funny that you say I'm only doing 2 miles. I'm most likely if I take enough courage, I may walk 2 blocks to the supermarket. That's my exercise today. I'm good. Sometimes I do some exercises in the house in YouTube videos or things like that. But lately I've been just lazy. But I thought, you can run for equality. I can eat for equality. I'm drinking coffee for equality. Look.
Oh yeah.
I'm drinking coffee in a Christmas cup.
I haven't had my coffee for equality yet today, so drink up for both of us.
I may create an OnlyFans page, and I can have sex for equality, and people can donate.
Amazing. There's a lot of things we can do for equality, really.
As long as you do something, right?
Yes. Thank you. Do something, for goodness sakes. All right, hold on.
Whatever you do for equality, just do it, but do something.
All right, there's a big truck coming. Hold on 1 second.
Be careful. We have to do something for equality, but stay alive. Don't let trucks run you over, okay?
No, don't get run over by an 18-wheeler. Nobody wants that.
No. I was born in a farm, so yeah, we had piggies, like pigs, and a pig farm.
What kind of pigs do you remember?
I don't know. I wasn't much into it though. My dad
was it your jam?
Huh? But it was like, this is not.
How many pigs did you have? Was it like a big farm?
We had like hundreds of pigs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I used to have always one pig as my little pet, because my father would always identify. I don't know if this is true or it was just my father talking bullshit, but he would say that the mama pig, when they're all born, always have to kill one for some reason. And kind of like she identifies which one she's gonna get rid of. So he would try to identify that little piggy too and take it away from her. So I don't know, maybe he would just do that for to keep me entertained or something. I don't
know. Make you feel like you're saving a little piggy.
I always have like a little piggy for me, and but then Christmas would come and it was like, oh, where's my pet?
Oh no.
I know.
That's the harsh reality of farm life right there. Oh my goodness.
But let me show you my nature.
Okay.
Idea. This was the lettuce.
Oh, it's beautiful.
This is spinach.
Yes.
I'm gonna have
I,
to transplant them. I'm gonna have to transplant them because there are too many here to keep
yeah, thin
growing as
them out a
seeds.
little bit. Yeah.
This is a grape.
Oh my gosh, really? I've never
Uh,
tried to grow grapes.
and this is dahlias.
Hmm.
This is some other things.
I'm very impressed. It's hard growing plants in pots, especially with the weather the way it's been.
I know,
Hopefully
and
it's going to warm up from here, though.
I wasn't expecting, and like 3 or 4 days ago, we had like a frost, and I was just desperate. Some of them I was able to put inside, but the ones that I couldn't, I covered them with like sheets and cartons. But a couple of them suffered a little bit though.
I love that. I love growing my own things. Watching seeds grow is probably like one of the most therapeutic things I can think of for myself.
Well,
It's just
I have a
very.
I have a little bit of anxiety, and I am an addict, and I always want things right now. So those 14 days is like the seeds. I put the seeds until something came out. I was like, this fucking shit is not working for me.
Oh my God, I'm the exact same way. I want instant satisfaction. It needs to go perfectly. And I also
Yeah.
assume that I have ruined everything. It's probably all my fault. Um, or the seeds are conspiring against me. Yeah, it's probably everyone else's fault. I probably did everything just fine. You
And
know.
was like, and seeds don't like you. So I
No, yeah,
always had this problem. Seeds never like me. And
um,
it's just because sometimes you use the trans car and you're like, seeds are transphobic.
oh my God, that's amazing. That's so funny. I have some onions that just won't grow. The seeds won't grow. It must be that they're transphobic.
They're transphobic. They're transphobic.
I hadn't even thought about it. Oh man.
Let's start a blog. Let's start a blog identifying which seeds are the most transphobic. It looks really beautiful where you live, though.
Here, I'll turn my camera around so you can see.
Yes, show me.
So,
oh, God.
It's a big valley going down a big hill. I'll keep the camera this way so you can see some of my property when I walk back onto it.
Me and my partner, we're not going to a farm. We're just going to have a house with a big piece of land, but not specifically a farm because my partner is retiring soon, so he really doesn't want to do much.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, are you growing vegetables there?
Not yet. They're all inside right now because it keeps frosting. So yeah, that's our vegetable garden.
Do you have chickens?
We have tons of chickens. And we have sheep.
Chickens are not transphobic, right?
No, the chickens are not transphobic. The sheep are pretty trans-friendly also.
Oh my God, they're so
Yeah,
beautiful.
they're talking to you.
We're having a nice conversation. They say that they're not transphobic.
Oh, good. Oh, I'm
Some of them
glad.
are trans themselves.
I suspected, but
they say that
who am I to assume
they don't
these
want to
things?
come out to you yet.
No. Oh,
No,
I'm a safe person to come out to. It's okay.
It's the beard that scared them. It's your beard that scared them.
All right, well, maybe I'll shave it off.
If you shave it off, they will come out to you.
Oh, no. Well, my face will get cold. This keeps my face warm. All right, Cecilia, so for everyone who's watching at home who doesn't know who you are, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah. Well, my name is Cecilia. My last name is Gentili. I am a trans woman. I was supposed to ask you before we started, but I didn't. And I use the word transsexual a lot, and I know that many trans people have an issue with it. But I love the word trans. I love calling myself a transsexual, and it's not because I identify as any. I just love the word. I'm from the '80s, and we used to use that word in Argentina. I was like, I'm a transsexual. So I love the word transsexual. So this is where I am a transsexual, and I do a lot of advocacy, and I have my own company where I work, helping organizations do better with people in general, with anti-immigrant sentiment, with racism, with transphobia, with homophobia, with misogyny. So fun stuff. That's what I do for a living. And
What's the name of your company? Tell everybody how they can reach you with that. They need
Trans
it.
Equity Consulting.
Trans Equity Consulting. Awesome.
Yeah.
And are you only helping folks in New York City, or do you travel to help folks
No,
with that?
I used to travel before this pandemic.
Right,
Like
before the
now,
pandemic.
yeah, but now, like, I've been able to do some, I've been working with some folks in Sacramento. So we've been doing amazing via Zoom meetings. Life is like a fucking Zoom meeting now. Everything is a Zoom meeting. And so, but, I've been able to do some work through the distance with virtual modes. And yeah, no, I work all over. I work all over, and I love it. I love it.
And you're an artist. You're a performer as well.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I have such a respect for people that are artists that I always think twice before putting myself in that category, because it's people who, like, went to school to learn how to act and things like that, and I just do what I can. So yeah, I do some acting. I was on Pose in season 2 and season 1 and season 2. I have a show that is it's not acting, it's more like storytelling. I have stories, and some of them are really funny, some of them are not, and I just put them all together, and it's a nice show called the Knife Cut Both Ways. And yeah, that's what I do. And and I've been in some like plays off Broadway, and yeah, that makes me really happy. Acting makes me really happy.
Oh yeah. What do you love about it?
I think I just love attention, though. I'm such a like attention whore. I love attention. I love attention. So, like, when you are in a in a room with a couple of hundred people just looking at you, that's paradise for an attention whore like me. That's perfect. So
All
yeah.
eyes and all lights are right on you. Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I really like it, and then it's fun to to be other people, like put yourself in characters that are you, and then you can play, and you can just play with what does this character has that I can relate to, or what does this character have is totally different to me, and you just play with it, and it's fun. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So when you play characters like in plays or on TV, well, obviously your show, but like, are you always playing trans characters, or do you ever play cisgender characters?
Well, my friend Jess Barbagallo, who for me is one of the best playwriters ever, wrote this character where it was a nurse, and that was the essence of the character. Uh, she was a nurse, and it was no mention anything about her gender, and it was no mention anything about her, her being trans or being cis or being non-binary. It was a nurse. That was the essence of the character, was that she was a nurse, and that she, and everything that a nurse embodies about, like, caring and the niceness of, like, coming with someone who take care of others. And it was very funny because she could talk to the elements. So she would talk to the grass, and she would talk to the horizon. So it was like really funny and cute. And and she, she had problems in relationships and things like that. But her gender was not something that that was mentioned. So, and I love that. I love that. I love that he did that. And I love that he wrote that specifically with me in mind, you know. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's, you know, we still just don't have enough trans representation in entertainment and in acting and theater and everything else. But then there's always the, you know,
yeah,
trans folks, do we have to play trans people all the time? And I imagine that it must be interesting to, I don't know, just not being an actor myself, but always wanting to be. When I was a kid, I knew I was going to grow up to be an actor, and it just like didn't happen for me, which is totally fine. Actually, I don't think I'm cut out for it. But um, I one of the things that I imagine about actors is that you get to know yourself so much better by playing these roles and putting on other people. Um, because you have to find where you relate or don't relate to these characters.
yeah.
And to do that, you have to know yourself really well. Have you found
Yeah,
that like that's true for you?
you have to know yourself, and you also have to be like very aware of who's around you, because like one of the things that I do as an actor, I love people. I love people, and I love good people, and I am very interested in not so good people too. I just love observing people. I just love looking at people and trying to think of like who they are and what they do. Like, you know, I'm that person that is in the train and looks at you and think about like who you are, what you had for breakfast, you know, what you do, what what how do you choose your clothes, you know. So I love people, and I love like seeing, you know, investigating and like making up stories about people that I know or I don't know, you know. So in all my characters, like, you know, when I play characters, my characters always have something that I think is interesting from somebody else, you know. So for example, when I played this nurse, it was inspired in a friend of mine who unfortunately died and a couple of years ago. But when I played it, it had a lot of things from her. And when she went to see it, she was like, hmm. It seems like you know your character does some things like kind of like I do, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
You're like, this
So
person seems awfully familiar to me. I don't. Wait a second.
in the, you know, for example, with Miss Orlando in Pose, you know, the character was like basically based on a character and a trans woman from the 80s here from New York City, who I didn't know, but you know, I learned a lot about her. But it was also like, you know, me personally, what I did, I based it on the first person that ever put silicone on me, who was such a character. So, you know, it was, you know, I had to just go back in my memories and think about like, you know, what would she do here? How would she act? What is her face would be? So it's such a fun, it's fun. I think it's really fun. Sometimes I think like, oh, you know, maybe I should just, you know, leave everything and do some acting. But, you know, actors are people who are terribly dedicated, you know, not just for acting, but also just to get jobs. Like, you know, you know, I know some of my friends who do, you know, acting, you know, 100% all the time. You know, they have hard times, and they're doing like, you know, working for like couple of dollars and like totally committed and going, you know, to LA and going to all places. So you know, I think I'm a little bit too old to do all of that. I don't. I mean, I don't. No, I'm not. You're never too old, but I just don't. I just don't want to do all the work. So I just do what comes to me. But I'm never looking for acting gigs or things like that.
What is it that you're doing now, or that you would like to be doing, maybe in the near future with everything going on, that you're most excited about and like most inspired about?
Well, but personally, as I told you, I think like buying, getting a place outside the city,
Yeah.
upstate is what I spend more time dreaming about. Um, So, because it's such a important step, and involves a lot of money. So I'm saving for the first time in my life. I'm saving money. I never did. I have such a weird relationship with the idea of saving, and my partner is a wise cis guy, and he's been saving for a long time, and when we talk about saving, I had to help him understand what my reality has always been, and I'm like, I never save for the future because I never thought it was the future for me. I always thought
Totally.
I'm not gonna live longer. One of the things that the first trans person that I ever met, who I begged her to help me be like her, she looked at me and she says there's three things that you have to know. You're gonna be a whore, and I thought, I can do that. You're gonna get high, and I was like, well, what are you gonna do? Just get high, right? And then she said, and you're gonna die young. And that was my understanding of what being trans was going to be for me, as a trans woman. And that was like every other trans woman that I knew at the time. We were all sex workers. We were all involved in some kind of drug use, and it was no older trans woman. At the time, we were all, I was in my late teens. It was a lot of women in their 20s, and it was a couple of women in their 30s, and you didn't see any trans woman more than 40 years old, So, my understanding of life, my number was 35. I was like, if I'm lucky, I'll make it to 35, So I
What an
always lived.
induction, right? Like what a welcome into
Yeah,
it, to say, yeah, welcome. I'm glad you could
yeah,
be who you truly are. Don't expect to live very long.
yeah,
And for you to feel like, okay, that's true. That is not
yeah.
only is somebody telling me, but that is true. Let me live my life. That'll be lucky if I make it to 35.
Something good that came out of that is that I always live like it was my last day. I can say I did a lot of shit that a lot of people wouldn't even have dream about. I was like, I'm doing this. Why not? I may be dead tomorrow. But one of the bad things is I never saved. I never, I didn't pursue any kind of education because it was hard. It wasn't like you could go to school as a trans woman in the 90s in Argentina. But even if I could, I didn't had because I'm like, why do I want to have some kind of diploma if I'm gonna be dead by 35? So, but I'm not complaining about it. Life was great, and the community that I lived around and with was a community of beautiful trans women who were sex workers, and who would use drugs, and who would steal food at the supermarket and makeup at the pharmacy, and it's a lot of beauty on all those things, things that people may see as terrible. I found beauty in all of those realities, and yeah, and
Yeah,
I think that forms a lot of who I am.
yeah. Well, it's resilience, right? It's surviving in the face of everything trying to erase you from existence, and saying, well, I'm going to beat the odds, and I'm going to do what I got to do, and doing it together, doing it as a community. And yeah, that's what it's all about, really, one way or the other. And I think resilience could look like a lot of different things, but that's definitely one way it looks. So trans past, transsexual past, transgender present, gender expansive present. What does trans future look like for us? And especially in this moment of the pandemic, which has really forced all of us to be on pause in a really global way. It seems to have created an opening for for something new, something different. Like, I don't know, in your, from your experience and from your own creativity and beautiful imagination, what do you see for us? What do you see in our future? What's a trans future look like for us?
I'm very optimistic, though. I always been a person who you live with a lot of optimism, and I think it has to do, like, when your life is like very shitty, you can just really go into depression, or you can just imagine good things coming for you to keep you going. So I've been that last one. I always talk about like. Uh, Good things coming my way, and I'm always been an optimistic. So I can't help it but think that things will get better, and unfortunately, sometimes you can just talk about things getting better without acknowledging that sometimes in the process of things getting better, a lot of things go terribly wrong. It's how can you say things are getting better when we have like dozens of black trans women murdered last year? That's not getting better. But somehow, like in terms of laws, in terms of reception of like cis straight people about trans people is getting better, but at the same time a lot of things are being terrible, right? So I always am very careful when I use things like getting better. I remember once I was in the train and this woman had a pin, and I was having a bad day, and she had a pins that say it gets better, and she was just minding her business in the train. I look at her and I say, like, for some of us things do not get better. And she was like, what's wrong with you?
Oh God.
Out of nowhere, but I traumatized her. I'm sorry, lady. I hope you're watching this and you know
You
that
know
I
what?
didn't.
Just consultants are humans too. We have moods and emotions and feelings, and we're not perfect models of calm and centeredness all the time.
But I'm
I feel like
thinking,
I've
really,
done something like that before.
I'm thinking that some things will get better, in context of the terrible things that still happen to people who are trans just because of who they are. I think like also the reality of trans people depends a lot on geography. I am, very fortunate. I live in a city where like trans rights are a natural thing. We live in a state where finally, have some rights, which we didn't for a long time, but we finally got it. So,
Yes.
I don't think it's the same if you live in North Dakota as a trans person, if you live in New York City. I don't know, maybe North Dakota is beautiful, but I get the feeling that it's not if you are trans, and your reality may be terrible. So I think, I think it's a lot of work to do some equal rights for trans people throughout the country. Do I expect that to happen with this administration? Of course not. I don't expect anything good to happen with this fucking administration. But
No.
I'm being optimistic, and I think that the good thing is that at least we have um, a voice, right? I think it is a lot of people who have been really resilient in the work that they do, and we have Janet Mock, a black trans woman directing, television in Hollywood. We have Laverne Cox, the black trans actress, doing amazing work. We have non-binary people in television. We have trans people who are amazing lawyers, like you, like Chase Strangio. We have we have trans people in places of power that that we didn't have before that are helping with normalizing the idea of being trans. And that's a lot of what it is for people. Like, sometimes, like, I really don't want people to like me or love me. I just want you to understand that I'm another person who goes to the bathroom, and the shit that comes out of my ass is the same one that comes out of yours, and we are the same. Like, you don't have to love me, but you have to respect me, and you have to let me live my life freely.
Yeah, and I think, yes, I agree with all of those things. Representation and visibility and like baseline dignity and respect shown to one another, which doesn't seem like a big ask, actually. But yeah, it's been an uphill climb, and you've gotten to see it and witness it and be part of it, which is such an incredible thing. Well, is there anything that I've asked you some questions. Is there anything you really wanted to talk about on this? I mean, so, I'm training for this marathon to raise awareness around trans issues, and also to raise money for the Marsha P. Johnson Institute and the Trans Justice Funding Project.
I love Elle. I love Elle. Oh, God,
yes.
What an amazing woman she is. What a strong woman she is. I love her.
I do too. Elle is the founder and executive director of the Marsha P. Johnson Institute, and she's just an incredible human being. And Sophie are such a visionary.
And also, like, people sometimes don't talk about, like, it is a very specific thing about Elle that I'm always worried that I'm stealing from her. But every time I'm around her, it's a sense of peace. It's a soothing feeling that she has. And I think she's just really amazing.
Oh my gosh, that is so true. I love that you put your finger on that. That is true about her. Yeah, so I am wanting to support her work. I want to support that organization. I know that they've been doing.
Where is the Ultra Marathon? Where is that going to be?
Oh, it's just me running.
Oh, it's just you running. Oh.
Yeah. So most marathons, like a lot of other events, have been canceled or being modified because you just can't have that large group of people together. So it's November 14th is the date that I picked to just do the 26.4 miles for the marathon.
How long does it take you to run that?
I have no idea. I've never done it before.
Oh my God. And why that number specifically?
Oh, well, I don't know why marathons are that long. It is kind of random. I've done.
No, just say that it's the transsexual thing. You know, when you say, like, no, this is a transsexual thing, nobody can ask you anything.
It's just a transsexual thing. Don't worry about it. Yeah. So I've run half marathons. I ran one in Rochester last year, and I ran one in New York City in like 2013 with my friend. And those are pretty brutal for me. Like, I am not a natural born athlete or runner by any stretch of the imagination. So this is really pushing my body to do things that it really was not built or raised to do, I think. But I want to do it because I want to get people to see what it is that we're experiencing, and I'm trying to use these runs as a way of just educating people and getting them excited about showing up for us.
That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. But it is a lot of I think that the masculine spectrum of the transsexuality has a tendency to do match sports like running, or a lot of transsexuals doing rock climbing too.
Oh yeah, that it seems like. Have you ever done that? Have you ever rock climbed?
I know, and I feel like at this point in life, if you don't do any rock climbing, your transsexual status may be revoked.
They're gonna take your card.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be one of the checking boxes in the transsexual card. Do you do rock climbing?
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Think about your answer, because you may leave this room not being a transsexual anymore.
Oh no. Oh geez, that's intense. Well, I have done it at least. But it was like an indoor rock climbing, which is safe. So I'm a person who's also pretty accident prone. I'm really good at injuring myself, so I was really nervous about it. But they strap you up, and somebody's got your
I was
back.
gonna
So
do
if you slip,
something. I was planning on doing some of that before this terrible pandemic came about,
yeah,
with my friend Mateo Guerrero, and when Lyndon from Albany, Lyndon Kudlis, they do rock climbing, and we talk about it. With Mateo, I actually had a date to go rock climbing. I don't know if I was really interested in rock climbing. I just want to hang out with Mateo because he's really hot and fun. You know,
and you wanted to
and
keep your
if
trans
it's gonna
card,
take rock
so
climbing, I'll fucking climb.
yeah. So anything else that you feel like people should know, things that are important to you, or a message that you want to be sure to get across to people, that you just want to make sure gets hammered home to folks who might be watching this and thinking about throwing some money and some support behind trans causes.
I just think, we all can do something, to help. In this case, trans people. I always, think like it's so many things, so many communities that we have to help, right? Because it's a lot of people suffering in this world. But I have made a conscious decision to just always put trans people first, because I know firsthand, what the suffering, and what like the life of a trans person can be in a daily life. So but we need a lot of support. We need cis people, and to really step up and own their privilege, and not just own your privilege, because sometimes if you just you recognize your privilege, doesn't mean anything if you don't do something with your privilege. So I'm always like, great, you know that you're privileged, so now what are you doing with that privilege, right? What are you doing? You say it's your privilege. How does your privilege translate into actual privilege? You get a job that pays much more money than the job that I have, right? So that creates a different financial situation for you that may leave some extra money to donate to the Marsha P. Johnson Institute, right? Or to Transjustice, or like, that's it, privilege doesn't mean anything if you don't do something with that. So for everybody that has a privilege, whatever your privilege is like, right? If you are a man, if you are white, if you are light skin, like me, I am a trans woman of color, but I have the privilege of having a light skin, and sometimes even be perceived as a white person. So how do I use that privilege, right? So just let's check our privilege, and let's see what we're gonna do with that privilege. How that privilege work for me, and makes me privileged, and what do I do with that, and how do I put it back to those who don't have that. So yeah, and if you need help doing that, just contact me. I can help you. I can help you create a plan to use your privilege to do something good for those that don't have the same privilege.
Yes. I encourage anyone who's sitting here watching this video going, gosh, I really don't know what to do with my privilege. Give Cecilia a call. She will walk you
Yeah.
through. She will give you some ideas. And I love that. It's so true. A lot of folks kind of get to the point of recognizing privilege, owning privilege, which to them is just like, no, it is. I am privileged. I recognize and I own the fact that I'm privileged. And then what, right? You have to, and then what? It's not enough just to own it or to recognize it. You have to do something about it. And if privilege is like a sword and a shield, if you can use it to hurt people and you can also use it to protect yourself, even if you don't realize that that's what you're doing, I mean, that's exactly what privilege is. So you don't have to think about it. How can we use that sword and shield to help people who don't have the same privilege that we do. That's what it's all about, taking action. So thank you. It's a great message. And Cecilia, where can people reach you? How can they find you?
Well, go to the transequityconsulting.com, and that's my website, and you can get in touch with me through there. And social media, I'm trying not to do that much social media. I take like 45 selfies to just find one that it really makes me look good, and I
Oh
post.
yeah. What do you do? What do you do with all the other selfies?
I just leave them there and just be miserable about them. Just,
Oh.
sometimes I'm such a masochist. So, sometimes I need things to be miserable because I enjoy misery sometimes. I'm not that bubbly, sometimes I have like very miserable times. And I just look at bad selfies. I look at bad selfies. I think terrible things about myself and my appearance, and just enjoy the misery. It's something that some people like me do.
Oh my gosh.
What's happening now with like these fucking like Zoom meetings, like life is a Zoom meeting. So I spend like 8 to 9 to 10 hours a day looking at my face in a Zoom meeting, and
Oh
my
no.
euphoria is just like, yeah, my
Wow.
euphoria is through the roof. So I wish.
That's so interesting. The
I could
psychology of staring at yourself all day.
all day.
That's yeah. Oh, that's really. I
So
hadn't really thought of
I've
it that
been
way.
I have planned about like 25 to 30 new surgeries when this pandemic goes
Oh no.
away. And all of that came from Zoom meetings.
Oh
All of
gosh.
that came from Zoom meetings. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Zoom
Yeah.
is ruined my
Oh, amazing. I'm always just amazed at how much my gray hair can actually show up on a Zoom call, because I feel like Zoom is sort of like has a fuzz. It's not like super high definition, so it's usually like kind of blends in, but like more and more there's so much gray that it's just like bam. Or it's just fuzzy enough that it looks like I just have stuff on my face, like I ate something and it's just like hanging out on my beard.
For men, grays are a show of sexiness, and for women are a look of like you old and it's not good. It's what misogyny works in different
All the ways. All the ways. It works in all the ways.
Yeah. So
It's
yeah,
so true.
yeah.
All right. Well, amazing. Well, Cecilia, I thank you for your time, and I'm not going to make you stay on this particular Zoom call much
I'm
longer
very
so
tired.
that you can
We've been
take a
running
break.
for like an hour. I'm very tired.
I know. Well, I appreciate you running with me. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your story and your vision and your wonderfulness with me. You are delightful to talk to, and I'll be doing this until November. So if you're interested in having another conversation later on, let me know. I'd love to talk with you again.
Definitely. And everybody watching, donate to the Marsha P. Johnson Institute and to Transjustice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep, the
Transjustice.
Trans Justice Funding Project.
The Force of Transjustice are amazing too. Just drop a coin. If you have like $5, if you have 10, if you have 100, if you have 200, if you have thousands, very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Here.
And
Yeah.
do something with
Ditto.
your privilege. Have a good day.
Thank you. All right. Bye, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.